There are moments in life when your own mind becomes your biggest enemy. You hear that voice in your head that whispers you're not good enough, you always mess things up, or you'll never change. These beliefs are heavy, but they are not truth, they are learned. And just as they were learned, they can be unlearned. With patience, kindness, and spiritual insight, you can begin the journey of letting go and coming home to yourself. Lesson 1. Celebrate small wins daily. Every day offers a quiet chance to grow. But we often overlook the smallest victories. The human mind tends to focus on flaws, failures, and what went wrong. That's why it's important to shift our awareness. When you begin to celebrate small wins, you rewire your mind to focus on progress, not perfection. If you got out of bed on a hard day, that's a win. If you chose a kind word over a harsh one, that's a win. If you paused and took a deep breath instead of reacting with anger, that is growth. These moments are not insignificant. They're the path itself. In spiritual practice, we learn to walk with awareness. And in that walk, the small steps count just as much as the big ones. Start a journal or keep a mental list each evening. Recall 3 things you did well. Don't judge the size of your achievements. Just honor them. You are not competing with anyone. You are growing from within. And when you shift your attention to what you are doing right, the harsh self-criticism loses its grip. It's not about being blindly positive. It's about being honestly grateful for your effort, however small. Life is not a single mountain to conquer. It is a field full of small hills, and each one teaches you something. The more you train your mind to notice progress, the more confident you feel. You become your own encourager. Over time, your inner voice starts to change, becomes softer, more patient, more loving. And that's how transformation begins, not with one giant leap, but with 100 small ones, each one worthy of celebration. Lesson 2. Optimize your environment. Choose support. You don't become who you are in isolation. Your thoughts, beliefs, and sense of self are deeply shaped by the environment you live in. If you're surrounded by people who criticize, judge, or compete with you, it's only natural to absorb their negativity. That's why choosing the right environment is not selfish, it's necessary. To grow into someone who believes in their own worth, you need to be around others who reflect that worth back to you. Look around. Are you spending time with people who uplift you, or with people who constantly doubt or diminish you? You deserve support. You deserve encouragement. The people you allow into your life influence your inner voice more than you may realize. Even your digital space matters. What content are you consuming? Are you following people who inspire growth, or those who trigger feelings of inadequacy? Make conscious choices. Fill your space with kindness, wisdom, and joy. Sometimes this also means creating distance from those who drain your energy. That's not cruelty, it's clarity. Choose places where you feel safe to be yourself. Choose conversations that nourish you. Choose silence over chaos. Even the objects in your room, the sounds you hear, and the colors around you influence your mood. Simplify where you can. Declutter what no longer serves you. Create corners of peace. As you care for your environment, you are also caring for your mind. And when your surroundings align with your healing, your beliefs begin to shift. You start to feel more calm, more hopeful, more empowered. You realize that your self-worth is not just an internal matter. It's also built from the outside in. When you choose support, you remind yourself that you are worthy of love and belonging. That changes everything. Lesson 3. Embrace imperfection. Good enough is fine. Perfection is an illusion that hides behind fear. The desire to be flawless often comes from the belief that we are not enough as we are. But here's the truth. You don't need to be perfect to be worthy. You don't need to fix everything to deserve peace. Good enough is not failure, it's freedom. When you hold yourself to impossible standards, you carry a constant weight. Criticize yourself for every mistake. You feel shame for every shortcoming. And in doing so, you forget your basic humanity. Everyone struggles. Everyone stumbles. You are not broken. You are growing. Real growth is messy. It's full of trial and error. It's full of moments where you fall down and get back up again. That's not weakness. That's courage. When you embrace imperfection, you open the door to self-compassion. You begin to treat yourself with the same patience you offer others. You accept that it's okay to be a work in progress, that life is not a performance but a journey. When a child takes their first steps, we don't scold them for falling, we cheer them on. Why not offer that same kindness to yourself? You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to not know everything. You're allowed to be tired, uncertain, and still trying. Let go of the idea that you have to get everything right. You don't. You just have to keep showing up. That's already more than enough. In spiritual practice, there is deep wisdom in the middle path, not too loose. When you stop chasing perfection and start accepting your humanness, you feel lighter. You breathe easier. You begin to trust that your value doesn't depend on how perfect you appear. It depends on how gently and honestly you live your life. You are already enough, right now, as you are. Lesson 4. Prioritize physical well-being. Sleep, eat, move. The mind and body are not separate. What affects one affects the other. Often, the negative thoughts we carry are louder when we are tired, hungry, or physically drained. That's why caring for your body is not vanity. It's a form of spiritual practice. A well-rested mind is more resilient. A nourished body feels more grounded. Movement energizes your spirit. Start with sleep. If you're not getting enough rest, your emotions will feel heavier. Your mind will be more reactive. Make rest a priority, not a luxury. Create a sleep routine that calms your nervous system. Dim lights, silence, warm tea, slow breaths. Let sleep be sacred. Then focus on what you eat, not out of shame or control, but out of care. Food is fuel. It affects your mood, energy, and clarity. Choose meals that nourish, not punish. Eat mindfully. Sit down. Chew slowly. Give thanks for what you have. And finally move. You don't have to run marathons. Just stretch, walk, dance, breathe deeply. Moment releases trapped emotions. It clears the fog. Ash! It reminds you that you are alive. Ash! Even 10 minutes of gentle motion each day makes a difference. These are not shallow routines. They are rituals of self-respect. When you treat your body well, your mind follows. You feel stronger, more balanced, more able to question the harsh thoughts that once felt so real. Your body becomes your ally, not your enemy. And in that state of alignment, your self-worth begins to rise, not through force, but through harmony. Healing is not just about changing your thoughts. It's about tending to your whole being. Your breath, your sleep, your meals, your movement. Every choice you make to care for yourself is a step away from self-judgment and a step closer to peace. Lesson 5. Visualize your confident future self. The mind is powerful. What you consistently imagine, you begin to believe. If you constantly see yourself as a failure, unworthy, or incapable, those images take root. But you can shift that. You can choose to visualize a future version of yourself that walks with confidence, speaks and lives with calm strength. Close your eyes. Picture yourself a year from now. You're standing tall. Your shoulders are relaxed. Your face is soft, yet sure. You're not burdened by old beliefs. You're doing what you love, or at least walking toward it. The people around you respect you not because you forced it, but because you started respecting yourself. Hold that image. Make it vivid. What do you feel like in that future self? How do you speak to yourself? What choices do you make when you're no longer ruled by doubt? This is not wishful thinking, it's direction. Your brain begins to form new paths based on what it repeatedly envisions. When you spend time each day visualizing your higher self, you begin to act like that person. You start asking, what would the confident version of me do today? And slowly, those answers become habits. That future version of you is not someone else. It is you after shedding the layers of fear, shame, and old stories. Visualization isn't about faking confidence. It's about reminding yourself that it's already within you, waiting to be unlocked. Speak kindly to that image. Spend time with it every morning. Journal from their perspective. Even 5 minutes of visualizing can shift your mood for the day. It gives you a North Star, says you're going somewhere. And when you act from that vision, even in small ways, you start believing new things about yourself. The inner voice begins to match the image. You feel stronger, not because you became someone else, but because you remembered who you truly are. Your future self is not far away. They are already with you every time you choose courage over fear, patience over panic, and self-trust over shame. Lesson 6. Create a consistent self-care ritual. Self-care is not just about bubble baths or quiet evenings. It's a deep act of self-acknowledgement. It's a way of saying to yourself, I matter, my well-being matters. And when done consistently, it becomes a ritual, a grounding practice that reminds you of your own worth. Rituals create rhythm. They bring order to emotional chaos. Start simple. Choose 1 or 2 small actions that you can commit to daily. Maybe it's making your bed slowly, brewing tea in silence, sitting with your breath for 5 minutes, or writing down a thought you're grateful for. These small acts become anchors. They're not about escaping your life. They're about showing up for it with presence. The world may be loud, but your ritual is your quiet space. Over time, your mind begins to associate these moments with peace, strength, and restoration. Your nervous system calms, your breath deepens, you start feeling more in control of the world, but of how you move through it. The consistency is key. Even on hard days, especially on hard days, keep the ritual alive. It's not about doing it perfectly. It's about showing up for yourself, even if just for a few minutes. That act alone builds trust within. You prove to yourself again and again, I won't abandon me. And that belief starts to replace the old ones. The ones that told you you're not enough, not lovable, not strong. Your ritual becomes a sacred space, a pause in the noise, a return to your center. You might adjust it over time, and that's okay. The goal isn't to add pressure, it's to create consistency. And in that steady rhythm, you'll find your self-respect growing. You'll begin to feel less scattered, less lost, more rooted, more alive. Taking care of yourself is not selfish, it's essential. Because when you feel whole, your thoughts follow. They become gentler, wiser, kinder. That's how transformation begins, with one small, repeated act of love. Lesson 7. Help others. Find purpose outside yourself. When you're stuck in negative self-beliefs, your world becomes very small. You start seeing everything through the lens of me, my flaws, my failures, my worries. This loop can feel endless. But one of the simplest and most profound ways to break that cycle is to shift your attention outward. Help someone, be of service. Even in a small way. Kindness opens the heart and softens the ego. It reminds you that your value isn't just in what you achieve, but in what you give. Hold the door for a stranger. Listen deeply when a friend speaks. Offer comfort without advice. Donate time, energy, or simply your presence. When you help someone else, you momentarily forget your own burdens. And in that space, something shifts. You begin to see that your existence matters not because you're perfect, but because you care. And that caring becomes a source of strength. Spiritual practice often emphasizes compassion, not just toward yourself, but toward others. It teaches that we are all connected, that your suffering is not yours alone. Others feel it too. And when you offer a hand, you're not just lifting them, you're also lifting yourself. Helping others creates meaning, it gives you purpose. When you have purpose, your mind becomes less interested in tearing you down. It begins to ask, how can I show up today? Rather than what's wrong with me. You become useful, not in a pressured way, but in a soulful way. You find yourself thinking less about what you lack and more about what you can give. And as you do, your self-perception shifts. You see your capacity for love, for impact, for healing. You start believing that you're not here by accident, that even your pain has given you empathy, and your struggle has shaped your compassion. When you help others, you reconnect with a deeper truth: you are needed, you are capable, you are part of something larger than your self-doubt. And that realization silences the voice that once said you weren't enough. Lesson 8. Learn to say no and set boundaries. Saying yes to everyone often means saying no to yourself. You give away your time, your energy, and your peace in the name of being kind or avoiding conflict. But inside, resentment builds, exhaustion follows. And soon, you start believing that your needs don't matter, that you must be available to prove your worth, that your value is tied to how much you do for others. But that belief is false. True kindness includes yourself. You are not a bottomless cup. You're a human with limits, needs, and the right to protect your well-being. Learning to say no is not rejection, it is self-respect. It says, I matter too. Boundaries are not walls to keep others out. They're bridges to healthier relationships. They let people know how to love you better. Start small. Say no when you feel drained. Say no when something violates your peace. Say no when guilt is the only reason you'd say yes. At first, it will feel uncomfortable, especially if you've spent years being a people pleaser. You might fear disappointing others, but discomfort is part of growth. Each time you set a boundary, you teach your nervous system that safety doesn't come from self-sacrifice, it comes from self-honoring. Over time, your confidence grows. You begin to trust your instincts. You realize that protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's sacred. The more you listen to yourself, the more clear your life becomes. You surround yourself with people who respect your no and honor your space. And the negative beliefs you once carried that you must overgive to be loved begin to dissolve. You understand now? Love that demands your silence is not love. Kindness that comes at your own expense is not compassion. Boundaries don't push people away. They create space for the right ones to stay. And most importantly, they allow your truest self to breathe, to exist, to thrive. Learning to say no is one of the most powerful steps you can take to stop believing harmful things about yourself. It is the practice of choosing truth over fear, self-worth over approval. Lesson 9. Adopt a growth mindset. Learn from challenges. Challenges are not proof that you're failing, they're proof that you're alive. No path worth walking is ever free from obstacles. But your mindset determines whether those obstacles become weights or stepping stones. A fixed mindset sees failure as final. It says, I'm just not good enough. A growth mindset sees failure as feedback. It says, this is hard, but I can learn from it. Yes. The stories you tell yourself about setbacks matter. When something doesn't go as planned, do you shame yourself? Or do you pause, reflect, and grow? Adopting a growth mindset means shifting how you respond to difficulty. It means recognizing that every mistake is a lesson in disguise. It means accepting that progress is rarely linear. In spiritual practice, we are reminded again and again that impermanence is a natural law. No pain lasts forever. No moment defines you. And no failure is the end. You are not meant to be flawless. You're meant to be flexible. Growth means falling and getting up. It means starting over without bitterness. It means forgiving yourself for not knowing better, and then doing better. When you look at life this way, even your darkest days hold meaning. Even your lowest moments contain seeds of wisdom. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? Start asking, what is this teaching me? That question alone can change your life. It transforms self-pity into self-awareness. It shifts your focus from blame to learning. You become curious instead of critical. And curiosity leads to growth. The more you grow, the more confident you feel, not because you avoid hardship, but because you know how to rise from it. You begin to believe that you are capable of change, that you are not stuck in who you were yesterday, that every day is a new chance to evolve. Your inner dialogue softens. The harsh voice that once shouted you're a failure becomes quieter. And in its place, a new voice emerges. One that says, you're trying, you're learning, keep going. That's the power of growth. It doesn't just change what you do, it changes what you believe about yourself. Lesson 10. Recall past resilience. You've overcome before. It's easy to forget your strength when you're struggling. You look at your present pain and feel defeated. You hear old doubts whispering that you'll never get through this. But pause, breathe, and remember, you've been here before.
Maybe not in the same situation, but in the same feeling. And you made it through. You have overcome heartbreak. You've handled disappointment. You've survived loss, confusion, and fear.
Your past is full of proof that you are stronger than your thoughts. Resilience is not about never breaking down. It's about rising again, even when it's hard, even when it feels impossible. When you recall the moments where you didn't give up, you remind yourself that you are capable. That strength is not something you find, it's something you remember. Keep a list if you need to. Write down times in your life when you faced difficulty and found a way through. Reflect on the lessons you learned. Reflect on the person you became. Your scars are not signs of weakness. They are symbols of survival. They show that you have depth, grit, and endurance. That truth matters, because in your hardest moments, your mind will lie. It will say, you've never been good at this. You always mess things up. But those are just thoughts, not facts. Your past resilience is real. It is living proof that the voice in your head is not always accurate. And when you lean into that memory, something shifts. You realize that you don't have to figure it all out right now. You just have to take the next step, the one you can manage today. Trust that the same courage that carried you before still lives in you. You are not as lost as you think. You are not starting from zero. You are starting from experience, from wisdom, from inner strength that has been built over years. And as you remember your resilience, you reclaim your story. You are no longer the person who can't. You are the one who has and will again. That belief alone can carry you through the darkest seasons into light. Every negative belief you hold about yourself was learned, and anything learned can be unlearned. With patience, kindness, and small, consistent steps, you can return to the truth you are enough. You always were. These teachings are not about becoming someone new. They're about remembering who you've been all along.